The WWE has made a huge mistake by making Jey Uso the winner of the Royal Rumble, and this has WWE fans outraged today. Plus, we got Seth, Roman, and CM Punk feuding now as Superstar snaps backstage. We have a lot to dive into in this video, so make sure to stick around to the end of this video because we got a lot to talk about. If you guys don't want to miss the latest WWE news, make sure down below and hit that subscribe button. But Darius, we just gotta jump right into this right away. I mean, Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble last night at a surprise to a lot of people, eliminating John Cena, who was the fan favorite at that time. I mean, Jey Uso was a fan favorite as well. I was a fan of him winning, but I hear that you think it's a big mistake.
I think that this was a mistake for the WWE to make because, we'll get to it later in the video. What happens with CM Punk now? What happens with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins? I think they actually set it up pretty perfectly, but they had other avenues that they could have went down. And I feel like, this also sets up a very dramatic storyline at the Elimination Chamber with John Cena. But is this the guy to give the Royal Rumble to, with John Cena coming back? You have names like CM Punk, who were the odds-odd favorite to win the Royal Rumble. There weren't too many surprises either. A couple from TNA like Joe Hendry. Nice to see him in the Royal Rumble. But Jey Uso, is he the guy to main event WrestleMania? And we already know his opponent. They've already said he's going for the World Heavyweight Championship and Gunther at WrestleMania. So it should be a good match because it's going to be a rematch. But is it main event worthy when you again have names like Roman Reigns in the mix? You have CM Punk who's come back, John Cena's farewell tour, right? Are you giving the main event this year to Jey Uso? I do believe that obviously he is way over, right? Like it all makes sense with the fans, everything that's going on. It makes sense in that way, but was this the year with all these circumstances in place to give him the win? I'm not too sure about that. I hope WWE doesn't regret it. I'm not sure this year that it's actually best for business. But Casey, I don't know how you feel about it. It's split 50-50, I think, in the fan base. I woke up this morning and there was so much online about how this was a complete disaster, but in the moment, so many people happy for him. And let me just say before I hand it off to you, I am happy for him. And I think that he has earned this. I just don't know as a company if this was the right direction this year.
All right, well, I'm going to try to bring you over to the Yeatlemania side here because this is 100% deserved by Jey Uso. He deserves to main event WrestleMania this year. He has arguably carried this company this year alongside Cody Rhodes. On the Raw side, I think Jey Uso has been the top guy all year long. I mean, there hasn't been somebody who gets the crowd involved like that since Daniel Bryan Yes Movement. And what happened to Daniel Bryan Yes Movement? He main evented WrestleMania, and it was one of the most exciting WrestleMania main events to watch on TV, live in the building, because everybody was going, yes, yes, yes. This is what it's going to be like. Whether it's against Gunther, whether Gunther loses the championship at the Elimination Chamber, it's against somebody else. Jey Uso is going to bring that the Yeet movement to Vegas, and it's going to be electric. He deserved to win this match. He deserved to finally get a good shot at the world title where it's not predictable that he's going to lose. He deserves this shot. He deserves to have some gold around his waist because Jey Uso has carried this company this year, and he deserves this. And I just gotta say, what a change from Jey Uso before we move on here. I mean, from being Roman Reigns' sidekick to now being one of the top stars in the business. Big shout out to Jey Uso here, and I really hope that they put some gold around his waist at WrestleMania. But Darius, we got a lot more to talk about here. I mean, CM Punk eliminated Roman Reigns and Rollins last night, and that was pretty crazy. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, we've seen Rollins and Reigns trying to throw each other over, and then CM Punk comes and dumps them all out. Then who comes and dumps Punk out? Logan Paul, ending the final three as Logan Paul, Cena, and Jey Uso. And then we see Rollins potentially turn heel here as he curb stomped Roman Reigns onto the steel steps. I mean, Darius, it's looking like we're teasing a little triple threat here between these three.
It is possible. That's exactly what I think that they're doing here. And also, can I just say, WWE is absolutely cooking right now with the storylines in matches. Before, obviously, when we were growing up in the Attitude Era, all of that, it was more promos and stuff like that. they are cooking with the storytelling in matches right now, because obviously Rollins and Reigns had that moment in the match together. They're looking like they're going to eliminate each other. And then the camera pan, that shot, that spot with CM Punk eliminating both of them is perfect. That was a perfect spot. Obviously eliminates both of them. Then you have Logan Paul dumping CM Punk over. And then it came down to the final three. And let me just say, with the final three, I was like, there's a real possibility here, because there's no way Logan Paul's winning this, that it's Jey Uso winning. So what do you do with John Cena, right? I think this sets him up perfectly to win the Elimination Chamber and go for 17 championships. I think he's going to do it, because then he can pass off or he can give someone the rub with the 17th championship later on in the year at SummerSlam or something like that. So I feel like that they're probably going to set that up. But meanwhile, outside the ring, you have these three, right? And they're telling stories outside the ring, right? Like Seth Rollins with a little bit of a heel turn, possibly. He's stomping Roman Reigns twice. Paul Heyman's yelling at him, you can't do that on the floor. That's illegal, all that good stuff. CM Punk is talking to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is giving it to CM Punk. What do you do with all three of these? I thought this perfectly set up, depending what they want to do at Elimination Chamber. It's still up in the air. CM Punk couldn't still win that match, right? I think this perfectly sets up at least Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, which, without The Rock in the picture, makes perfect sense. I love it. And even if they add CM Punk in the mix in a triple threat, it's perfect. It's learning from your mistakes. You should have had CM Punk in the main event of WrestleMania 29 as well. So you're learning from your mistakes. I think that would be a great match nonetheless. So it's going to be very interesting. I think this actually kind of set up a lot of things perfectly for the future. But Casey, I don't know how you feel about this feud. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, that's hot right now. Roman Reigns, what's he going to do at WrestleMania? I mean, it sets up a lot of things perfect, but a lot is still up in the air.
There was one point last night where I thought we were going to hear the chainsaw rip and the lunatic Dean Ambrose was going to come out, because, it was just too long of the shots outside. I was like, there's no way Dean Ambrose is coming back right now. I at one point, that's what I thought was going to happen, but I love this. I mean, if you've been watching WWE for a while, you know the lore behind this. The Shield was formed as Punk's backup at one point in time. They just kind of went on their ways as they seen how effective of a group this was, and they really conquered the next generation of wrestling. So I think now with Punk back, maybe getting that final Shield Punk, end of that story would be awesome here at WrestleMania. I think we will see three of these guys in the Elimination Chamber, which will then set up a triple threat at WrestleMania, which I would love to see. But man, if the lunatic Dean Ambrose was back, a fatal four-way, oh man, that's cinema right there. But we'll take a triple threat at this point. I think that would be amazing. Seth turning heel, I hope so. I love Seth. I think this is going to be a good feud going forward. But we got another guy to talk about here, and that's Drew McIntyre. One guy, when he was flipped over the ropes last night, I was very upset, because I'm a Drew McIntyre guy. I think this guy deserves a solid push with some gold, and by rights, and he was really mad last night. The quotes here, he was screaming and cursing. Someone had to get their moves in. He said at the expense of a number of stories in the match. He then loudly stormed out of the building and was gone well before the match ended. And, I mean, Darius, if I'm Drew McIntyre, I'm really pissed off, because he's had a fantastic year, and he's been screwed over after screwed over after screwed over by Punk in his hometown in Scotland, by Punk at the Hell in the Cell, now getting flipped over the ropes at the Royal Rumble. This guy's had a tough year, and this is a guy who I think deserves a shot at the title as well.
And he's still going to be in the picture. I think this is another guy that will probably be in the Elimination Chamber, right? Just because of all the other storylines going on as well. When I first saw this report, I was like, you know what? I don't actually remember seeing Drew McIntyre get eliminated. Like, I remember a lot of the other eliminations, but I didn't remember him getting eliminated. So I went back to watch it, and it was a very awkward spot. And I'm like, who is he talking about at this point in the match? So again, went back to watch it. He gets flipped over the top rope, and the reason it looked awkward is because Logan Paul and LA Knight were doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing in the ring, and you can tell because they bumped into each other. They bumped into Drew McIntyre. Like, it just looked really clunky and awkward. Didn't look like how the spot was supposed to look. So he's probably, I'm just going to throw it out there, speculation, probably talking about Logan Paul flexing in the middle of the ring when he shouldn't have, and then LA Knight like stalking him. If you go back and watch the clip, I don't think that they were supposed to do that. I feel like the attention should have been on what was happening with Drew McIntyre and him about to be thrown over the top rope. Because again, if you go, it looks like a very odd spot. The camera cuts, all of that. It almost looks like they were doing that all on the fly when everything else looked very polished. So I think that he's probably talking about Logan Paul because, you know, LA Knight has been in the business for a while. Logan Paul, very new, right? And has that kind of narrative around him. So I think that's probably who he's talking about, but that's very interesting. You're letting a lot of celebrities in. I Show Speed was in the Royal Rumble, right? Like, I feel like a lot of these guys might be a bit upset about certain things like that. And Drew McIntyre, like you said, has had a tough go, and he's had moments like this in the past.
Yeah, I gotta say we didn't see Randy in the Royal Rumble last night. That was something. Before I went into the night, I said to my buddies I was watching with Randy's turning heel tonight. We didn't see him the whole night. Now, I thought that was bad because I'm a Randy guy. I wanted to see him last night, but I definitely agree with you. I think we seen Drew McIntyre, quick frame of him getting flipped out. We're like, what happened there? I mean, there's so many storylines happening in the ring right now. Punk's in there. There's so many people in the ring, and Drew McIntyre just gets flipped out for no reason. And he is right to be pissed off at that because this should be building his storyline to WrestleMania, which it didn't really do that. So we know Drew McIntyre has been playing that, pissed off against the authority character here over the last little while. So I think it's gonna play into that a little bit more, and we'll have to see where it goes because I want to see Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. I don't know what he will be wrestling at this point, but it'll be definitely interesting to see where that goes as well. But we gotta talk about the guy, John Cena. You can't see me. Didn't win the Royal Rumble last night. In the post-show, he went on to say I'm going to the Elimination Chamber to win. I'm going to main event my final appearance at WrestleMania and win the 17th championship because that's what's best for business. And did John Cena ever say it right? Because I think, it is his last year. You can't just let John Cena go on and not win the title. I mean, set the record. I think it is best for business because there's a lot of people coming back to wrestling right now for John Cena alone, and a lot of those peoples were let down last night when he lost to Jey Uso. So I think getting him in the Elimination Chamber in Toronto, his final match in Toronto, where he came back to announce the farewell tour, it's just the perfect start to the John Cena farewell tour, in my opinion.
And you know what? I was thinking about it. I'm like, if he won this Royal Rumble, he wouldn't be in the Elimination Chamber. So it makes sense for him to lose to be in the Elimination Chamber in Toronto. Like he promised, he would return back to Toronto. So I think that it works out perfectly that way. And listen, I'm one of the biggest John Cena fans there are, right? Like growing up, he was the biggest thing going, not only in wrestling, like pop culture, right? So I love John Cena. I'm rooting for him. I want him to win the 17 championships because he's the GOAT in my eyes, right? In a lot of different categories. But, I cannot stand the character that he's been playing the last 3 or 4 years, right? Every time he comes back, this jolly, happy-go-lucky guy who's the movie star that comes back and wants to give back to the business. This was a very borderline heelish promo last night that I absolutely loved. It is best for business now that we are on Netflix worldwide that I am in the main event and going to win the championship so then I can pass it off and give it back to somebody else. He is speaking facts. He didn't take any questions. This is the John Cena I wanted to see on this farewell tour, not the guy we've been seeing the last little while. This guy means business. I want to see him win another championship, and he's totally right. Whether you like it, you don't like it, you love it, you hate it, you got to respect it, to quote The Rock, right? So I think that he is back. The Chain Gang John Cena might be back. He's got to get rid of the socks, though. I don't know what's going on with that, but I love that this John Cena could be back, and I think that it's true. Best for business, John Cena's last WrestleMania, he has to be in the main event. I think he must be in the main event.
He has to be in the main event. It's his last WrestleMania. This is a guy who was probably probably is the biggest WWE superstar of all time. I'm saying it. He's bigger than The Rock. He's bigger than Hulk Hogan at this point. John Cena is a pop culture icon. So is The Rock. I mean, they're probably on the same level. But, I mean, if The Rock announced he was coming back for his final WrestleMania, would he get the main event? Yes. 100% he would. So John Cena deserves to get this main event at WrestleMania. Who it will be against will be very, very interesting. I would love to see who they would pit him up against because I want to see heel Randy. I know a lot of people don't want to see that, but that's my pick. But I think this storyline, the road to WrestleMania, has finally kicked off, and it's going to be interesting to see what to do. But Darius, before we wrap it up, we got a quick hit here. Triple H say sometimes predictable is good. I mean, couldn't get any more predictable than Charlotte Flair winning last night.
Yeah, no, that was predictable, but I think he's right. Sometimes predictable is good because you don't always want to surprise everybody because the decision might not make sense. It makes sense for Charlotte Flair to win that. I think that there's a lot of storylines going forward. And listen, she's the greatest of all time, right? Like it makes sense. I know she just came back from injury, but it makes perfect sense. I think it sets up some really interesting storylines going into WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley, there's some history there. Even if she picks Tiffany, I think that's going to be a great match too. So it makes sense. I'm excited to see what happens with the chamber and what happens with that because there's a lot of storylines with Io Sky as well. So I think that it makes for, sometimes predictable is good. Triple H, you got to put your faith in him. He's made so many good decisions. And I think, for me personally, Jey Uso, a little bit questionable this year, but he's made so many good decisions that just, enjoy the ride.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right in the WWE. The road to WrestleMania has kicked off, and if you guys don't want to miss out on anything, make sure down below, hit that subscribe button, because we're going to be keeping you up to date on everything that's happening. We're going to dive a little bit more in on Charlotte Flair later today, so make sure to stick around, check that video out, because you're going to see me get absolutely fired up in that video, so you're not going to want to miss that one. But if you guys enjoy this one, make sure down below, leave a like, comment on the video, let us know your thoughts about the Royal Rumble. Do you think Jey Uso winning was a mistake? Let us know down below. Subscribe to the channel as well. We're on the road for 3,000 subscribers here before WrestleMania, so we really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. But as always, I've been your host, KC, alongside my co-host, Darius. We'll catch you in the next one.